Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bablet Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, lawyers of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement (CRM) political party decry what they consider as abduction of some militants of the party from the Kondengi maximum security prison in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. They have been transferred to the special operations arm of the police force still in Yaoundé. They are demanding for their return to the Kondengi security maximum security prison, and experts demand that the rights of vulnerable Cameroonians as far as criminal justice is concerned should be reinforced, decrying the violation and gross violation of course of human rights, notably of vulnerable persons in the country. Those were our top stories. Human rights defenders say unequal access to justice remains a major problem in President Paul Biya's country. And speaking to reporters in Yaoundé, they urged the government of the Republic of Cameroon to reinforce the respect of the rights of vulnerable Cameroonians, notably as far as criminal justice is concerned, especially at this point in time when the country is hit by socio-political and security crises in the northwest, southwest, and of course the far north, Adamawa, and of course the north and even the east region of the country. A very difficult time in the history of the country. For me, Armstrong Sander has more. For me, Armstrong Sander with this report on equal access to justice for Cameroonians, decried by human rights defenders and experts as a major problem in the Republic of Cameroon. For me, Armstrong Sander. We'll be coming back to that report shortly. Now we continue with the CRM political parties. The CRM political party, lawyers of the national president, Professor Maurice Kamto, and of course the party are decrying what they have described as the abduction of some militants who were being detained in the Kondengi maximum security prison in Yaoundé. The militants were transferred to the special operations arm of the police force. The lawyers in a press conference yesterday in Yaoundé said they should be returned to the Kondengi maximum security prison. We have details with EQUINOXE.
The CRM denounces what it terms deportation of some of its members from their detention cells in the Kondengi maximum security prison to the Special Operation Group of the police, GSO, where they are being incarcerated since April 23rd. In a press conference, lawyers of the CRM detainees demand their immediate return to Kondengi prison. Barrister Emmanuel Sim says they have not met and heard from them since their forceful transfer to the GSO. The lawyers added they doubt if their clients are fed or provided clothes as they left all their belongings at the Kondengi maximum security prison. Still to the lawyers, officials of the GSO told them they have not been authorized to let people visit the detainees. CRM lawyers mentioned this a serious violation of the rights of detained persons that they denounced today. The close to 24 CRM detainees, according to the lawyers, were abducted from their cells when they denied going to court as the prison administration compelled them to remove the jerseys of the national football team with the inscription Can 2019, implying AFCON 2019. They were then forcibly pushed into the prison truck for the GSO. Lawyers of the inmates say they met the prison top administrator, who told them he was not the one who ordered for the transfer of the prisoners to the GSO. While stressing the transfer of the CRM detainees was absolutely illegal, the lawyers, in the face of this situation, claimed to have seized by correspondence the Secretary of State in charge of the prison administration for the immediate return of their clients to their place of detention as mentioned in their mandates of the deposits issued by a military judge. They also required the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry to establish responsibility for this other case of rights violations of their clans.
In the meantime, the situation remains quite tense in several parts of the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon, and the people are living in constant fear and uncertainty as the Anglophone crisis deepens further, with towns like Kumba experiencing recurrent gunshots, gun battles, and of course some atrocities that have been committed within the context of the deepening Anglophone crisis, and the government continues the implementation of military force on the ground with the aim to restore normalcy in the two Anglophone regions of the country, while there have been calls from within and without for an end to hostilities, a ceasefire, and of course the implementation of military force on the ground. And the special representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Central Africa and that of West Africa and the Sahel zone have promised to work together with the members of the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee, notably to restore normalcy in the far north region of the country hit by terrorist attacks, notably perpetrated by suspected members of the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram. And of course the commission has been, or the committee has been struggling to bring back to the normal life trend some Cameroonians who had joined the ranks of Boko Haram fighters, and Francois Lucini Fall and Mohamed Chambers made the declaration that they are going to be supporting the demobilization, the reintegration, and of course the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee during a meeting with the committee president and other officials in the nation's political capital Yaoundé. And in the course of their discussions, the Boko Haram issue and the Anglophone crisis were of course on the table. And now our correspondents, so our reporters in Yaoundé, spoke to Francois Lucini Fall, who is the United Nations Secretary General Special Representative for Central Africa, and this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
To see the situation on the ground in the extreme north, this fight against Boko Haram, which is a fight that must be continued with vigor. But today in our meeting with the director, Seyengo, who has received us very, very warmly, he has told us of the efforts that they are making regarding those who have come out of Boko Haram areas. They want to encourage more people to come out so that they will be supported, they will be rehabilitated, to be integrated into society. Many of them, of course, have realized that they were deceived, they made an error, they followed these people, and they went and saw that these people were leading them just to death and destruction. This is not a life for young people, so they will come out. And more people, when they realize this, will come out, and this is the task that Mr. Yango and his people have, to ensure that they encourage this, and then when they come back, they will give them the proper orientation to be reintegrated into normal society. This is a committee that we'll be working with on a long-term basis. Today is just, I can call it, introductory meeting, the first time that the SRSG FAL has led this delegation for us to come and visit. He will be constantly in his office working to see how do we mobilize, especially UN technical support. We have a lot of experience in this area of DDR, but working with other partners such as the EU. That's why we are here together, and others who have. There are many international NGOs also which are working in this area of DDR, and I think already the office is making contact with some of them so that they can bring their technical knowledge to bear on the work that he's doing. So we want to congratulate Seyongo and all his team and to encourage them. It's a difficult assignment, but it is not an impossible task, and we are very happy that it has been conferred, given to somebody with his kind of experience.
Unequal access to justice, a major problem in the Republic of Cameroon, decried by human rights defenders and experts who are calling on government to reinforce the rights of vulnerable Cameroonians, notably as far as criminal justice is concerned, especially at this point in time when the country is hit by socio-political and security crisis on several fronts. From Yamson Sander has more.
With the socio-political and security atmosphere increasingly challenging in Cameroon, human rights concerns are as well more and more preoccupying. Against this backdrop, legal practitioners have been trained on how to respect norms and criminal justice in a seminar on human rights and criminal justice in Yaoundé. Organizers said their objective is to reinforce capacity on the application of criminal justice with strict respect on human rights, which will consequently help in building the state of law in Cameroon. Organized by a non-governmental organization known in French as Nouveau Droit de l'Homme Cameroun, the seminar falls in line with the program to better access to criminal justice, which is a response to key concerns of legal minds in Cameroon. Members of the non-governmental organization say they intend to revisit international conventions on the protection of human rights signed and ratified by Cameroon at either the United Nations or the African Union. They also plan to place a special focus on human rights and the criminal procedure in Cameroon, and also clearly define the role of each and every actor in a criminal justice system in Cameroon. The director, Mrs. Cyril Roland Bertrand, says they will also look at the role of some actors, like the judicial police officer in the criminal justice in Cameroon. Apart from legal practitioners, members of the civil society are also part of the seminar. They plan to constitute a pool of educators capable of boosting access to criminal justice to the vulnerable population in Cameroon.
And growing corruption is equally another major problem in the Republic of Cameroon, and this particular problem has been eating deep into the marrows of the nation and of course hindering the growth of the country, according to experts. And the National Gendarmerie is stepping up the fight against corruption within its core, and within that core, and of course the National Gendarmerie has launched an open line for citizens to denounce corruption, and that is 1501, and they are indicating that they are receiving calls every day, people calling to denounce corruption and other malpractices or ills perpetrated by gendarme officers across the country. Now take a listen to one of the gendarmerie officials who told us how it happens.
People are getting a lot of interest in the 1501. We receive many calls daily. They complain and they trust us because we bring positive results to their problems. We receive calls, we register them, and we submit it to our hierarchy. They, on their own part, take measures. It depends. There are measures that has to be taken immediately, so they have to be intervened immediately. There were some that have to be intervened gradually. So that is how it happens.
And some young persons who were affected by the closure or the collapse and closure of the MILDA, which is of course an institution, have been given some good news, notably concerning President Paul Biya's grant of 1 billion francs CFA for the repayment of the money that they lost in that operation. And of course, the information was made public yesterday that President Paul Biya has disbursed 1 billion francs CFA for some Cameroonians who were affected by the collapse and subsequent closure of that organization. And this brings the amounts collected so far to more than 4 billion francs CFA. Central Regional Governor Nasiri Paul Biya made this information public yesterday in Yaoundé. In the following excerpt, take a listen to Governor Nasiri Paul Biya and one of the beneficiaries.
La bonne nouvelle est que le président de la République, dans sa magnanimité, is indeed a good news from the head of state, father of the youths who thought it wise that after 1 year of suffering from the subscribers of MIDA, to give them 1 billion francs, add 1 billion francs to the money which was originally found at the place at the time of closure. And this money has increased what each person has to take back home from 3,100 to almost 3,900 francs. And so we are giving them about a week to be able to do all the other technical work, like compiling all the names in a booklet, compiling the list where they are going to sign out their money, be able to compile the names in alphabetical number so that we don't find all 1,000 people or 15,000 people the same day, and that the place of payment will be the General Treasury in Yaoundé. And we are calling on these subscribers to show a sense of maturity. We are going to come out with a radio communique to enable them know how they are going to come up each time, and equally send them the soft copy into their telephones so that it eases the work for all of them.
It has not been easy for some of us that have been working behind this document since from the start when the issue was locked till now. But we have finally arrived at a decision which is favorable for us, subscribers of this long program, MIDA. Well, the governor has given us a very good news today, which is very specific for us because the President of the Republic, President Paul Biya, has reacted and has added a sum of 1 billion on top of the sum that was actually found from the scene of the event. So to us, it is a great joy that we're expressing, and we're thanking the President of the Republic most specifically for this gesture, and we thank him for being a father.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us into the second part of this newscast. We are receiving a Northwest-based journalist, Laris Uchenna, journalist with Santa Meteor Radio, The Voice newspaper, Chief Executive Officer of Laris Newsroom, and he has been to the bushes where several persons who have been kicked out of their homes by the Anglophone crisis, especially women, are going through very difficult conditions. Their living conditions are growing worse by the day. Larry, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Right. How was your journey from the Northwest to Douala?
Anyway, this time around, it was not that difficult. It was just a normal trip. You get to the car bus or the agency, and you pay your bus, and you come to Douala. It was not going through those dramatic sentences or those descriptions I gave you last time.
Right. So, can we say that there is some gradual return to something like near normalcy?
Anyway, I will not say that, because the Northwest region, it's a tradition. Every Monday there's a ghost town lockdown, and maybe when these separatist leaders are going to court, they will definitely be calling for a lockdown. So there is this lockdowns that comes up sometimes automatically, like the one on Monday, and that of the impromptu ones that comes as a result of if they are going to court. So it's not actually like there is anything being under control yet, even though for now there is a little bit calm.
All right, and there are still lots of atrocities that are committed, people who are killed, people who are abducted, stores that are broken into, looted, and so on. We don't want to mention the names of those committing those atrocities. We don't want to attribute them to anybody, but those atrocities are being committed on a daily basis.
Of course, I want to use this platform to say that some few days ago we had a human head, actually chopped off and placed on the tar on the highway, and that particular incident has actually aroused or caused panic, shut down Bamenda for few hours. So it's something that might just think and go, come and go, but then the situation in the Northwest is not at all in the best shape.
All right, you've been to the bushes, you've met the IDPs who are living in very difficult and precarious conditions, especially women. What did you see in those bushes?
It's actually terrifying and so very, very disheartening. Something like a menstrual hygiene, which we normally see to be part and parcel of women, girls, is now something that is far-fetched. Back in the bushes, these people, these ladies, these young people don't have that access again. I was so very, very heartbroken.
What are they using?
The whole thing here is that they use, some of them even use one cloth, maybe a cloth that I don't know where they got it from, one cloth. This lady will wash this cloth and use on herself in order to prevent
during her menstruation
period. And then at the end of the day, as the flows subsides or curds, they will use it for another person. They will wash it and keep for another person. So about 20, 24, 25, 26 girls, 30 girls are using one cloth. They only recycle. They only do washing and using.
With all the risk of diseases involved.
I'm telling you. So it's actually a pity, and I think it's something that needs to be looked upon, because those in the bushes are really, really going through hard time. When I went there, and sometimes even what they told me, the things they recounted to me, I was like, is this supposed to be the scenario? Is it supposed to be that Northwest that was so friendly, hospitable to everybody? But now the people are going through thing and tack in the bush. And
not to talk of feeding, which is yet another side of their ordeal.
That is something that is far-fetched. I think they are really going through hell. And my main emphasis is on the hygienic condition, menstruation hygiene condition. I'm actually saying this because I had to go in there with a certain NGO, Marie Claire Kuja's Foundation, that they actually specialize in producing menstrual pads. That is to make sure that people have at least affordable and cheap pads in their own, maybe say, backyard. So they have actually taken upon themselves to fabricate these things. So they had to go there. When these women saw one of these menstrual pads, like I'll tell you, they were very happy. Some were like, it is heaven on earth that has come. And when they started recounting the scenario where they will use a cloth, and about 20 people will use that same cloth when they are menstruating, I nearly bleed. I nearly shed tears. But sometimes I will say, why will I be shedding tears when I know that there's somebody somewhere listening? I think it's good for me to use a platform and maybe call the attention of these people, and that's the stakeholders in this country. The head of state is a person that we know is a father. And of course, there are a lot of things that have been said and done, but I believe that with the head of state listening, he can at least do something in order to remedy the situation of these people in the bushes.
And of course, to solve the problem, definitely.
Solving the problem
to normalcy.
Of course, that's the one thing that we want. That it should, we are wishing, we are hoping, we are begging. It should come to pass. Because as they go by, we'll be having serious issues. Lockdowns, suffering is mounting. It's not easy. I mean, when you talk about not suffering mounting every day, on a Monday, when you come to Bamina, you bear with me that there is no movement, no vehicle, no bikes, nothing. Even birds are also aware of lockdowns.
All right, thanks so much, Larry Uchedna, journalist with Santa Meteor Radio, the Voice newspaper, CEO of Larry's Newsroom. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.